I became a mum. And I was so inspired at the time when I saw my little baby. I knew that in my heart I had all the love and all the want and everything that I needed to be a parent in terms of loving and caring for and wanting the best for him. But it became abundantly obvious that my degrees in accounting and education and 25 years of teaching in a business school wasn't really going to help me at all. I think for far too long, we've had this expectation that just because you can have a baby, you can raise a baby. That you don't need any training or education. That just because you can, there it is, and you'll know exactly what to do. And I really challenge that idea. I've got 4 degrees, and I've been teaching for 25 years, and none of that helped me. What it helped me do was to research and find out information, but it didn't help me raise my son. So I'm kind of on a mission to say, if you're a parent out there and you're struggling, like me, then that's really understandable, because we've had this idea that we should just be able to do it. Now, there isn't a profession out there. I don't know any profession that they say, yep, sure, no training, no education, nothing, just jump in. Yep, cut people's hair, operate on people, no problem, go out there, build buildings. And yet we say to parents with, no background in education, we go, yep, raise them. And then, on top of that, how much criticism do poor parents get? Hello. No one can kind of do it right. So, first of all, we're not supported. Second of all, we're criticised as parents. So, I think it's time to change the paradigm. And I would really like to have a new paradigm for parenting. And I think it's not one of, should we be helicopter parents, or should we have our children as free-range chickens running around freely through the world. But those big philosophies, I don't think they help parents. What's really helped me is to take what I call a life skills focus. I have put together a program called the Inspired Children program that has life skills across 7 areas, and it draws on the work of amazing people like Dr. Joe, Bruce, and all of the researchers. Another one is Martin Seligman's, another amazing guy from positive psychology that I can highly recommend to read. And I've pulled together all their bits and pieces across different areas so that we can develop a whole child and support a child's whole development. Because let's face it, they've got a brain, they've got a heart, they've got a body, and they've got a spirit. So let's not just nurture their minds, let's nurture the whole child. So the 7 areas, I'm going to just run through them quickly. Eloise's clever brother Marcus has created the cover designs for the 7 ebooks that are coming out shortly from the Inspired Children program. And the first one is personal power. Now, what's personal power about? It's about self-esteem. It's about resilience. It's about all of that inner that we need to make it in this world. The next area is health and well-being. Let's face it, once you're good on the inside and you're strong and you feel good about yourself, the next thing we want to make sure is that our children have a really healthy body, because a healthy body is a healthy mind. So health and well-being includes things like making sure they eat a good diet and have exercise, and also have a good, clean, tidy environment that they can work in. So it's personal cleanliness, nutrition, exercise, and order in their life. The next category is communication and relationships. That's how life works. We're social beings. We love, we laugh, we interact with others. And so how much of our time do we actually spend helping our children learn how to communicate, to speak with each other, to understand their own emotions? Now, one of the chapters from the Inspired Children book is by Dr. Joe, and he talks about how do you support your child to develop emotional intelligence. We spend lots of time with maths intelligence and English intelligence and writing intelligence, but how much do we spend on emotional intelligence? Yet we're emotional beings. We've got a heart, and we want to connect with others. So communication and relationships is a big category. The next one I had to add this one, being an academic and loving study and being from the business school. Education, career and money. Imagine helping our children find what it is they love to do for their career and make money out of it. Imagine being able to inspire them to look for that career that they want to study and to examine all of the capabilities that they've got and the education that they can have that will support them living that inspired life where they actually make money out of doing what they love. So education, career and money was a really important category. We don't live in isolation. We live in families, we live in communities, we live in societies, and we live on a planet. And it's so important for me to help Cameron understand that different people have different circumstances. That if we don't look after all people, if we don't support everybody, if we don't understand different people's needs, we can't support the planet as a whole. And I really want him to also know how to make a positive difference in this environment so that there is an environment for future generations. So social and environmental understanding, for me, helps round off and complete a child. Only 2 more categories. Relaxation and play. How much time do we spend playing nowadays? Not enough, from what I understand. And how much time do we spend relaxing? Not enough, from what I understand. But that's such a key part of finding who you are and sharing that with the world. So relaxation and play is a really important category. And what the research is showing is that the reason why people are having so much trouble relaxing, playing in life now and are not coping with stress is because they didn't learn how to do it as children. Ask yourself how overscheduled your children are right now. They get up in the morning, they go to school, they come home, they might be doing piano or swimming or maths instruction, they might be playing a sport. When do they get home to have a play? When do they get home to have some quiet time? Do we teach them how to relax, to stretch, to meditate? Do we help them wind down at the end of the day after they've had a big day of learning and running and exploring? So relaxation and play. And the final category, which is my favourite category, and this was inspired by my work with Dr. Joe when I started to learn what he teaches, and that is inspired creativity. And that's about your child's spirit. That's about who they are. What are they going to creatively express in this world that's unique to them? What are their dreams and how are they going to take active steps towards it, and how are they not going to let anything stand in their way so that they can express themselves and add that beautiful colour to the rainbow that we have in the world of people. So they're my 7 categories, and I'd like to talk about them because I think I'd love you all to walk out of here not just with some theory or some research and some numbers, but some practical activities that you can take home with your children and actually complete. So the first category I want to start with, because I think it's the most important, is personal power. What does that mean? What does it mean to have personal power? I draw on some work from the book for this definition from a man called Michael Hall. And he works in the area of NLP, neurosemantics, and he talks about how do you raise psychologically healthy children. A lot of people get very confused about what self-esteem is, what self-confidence is, and what self-efficacy is. And so I'm going to explain it. And these are one of the activities that in the Inspired Children program, it's the first one in the Personal Power series, is explaining to your children what self-esteem is. Because if we don't know what self-esteem is, how do we then support it? So here's a working definition of what self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-efficacy are. Self-confidence is all about the doing. So in the world, a lot of people say, I really want my child to be self-confident. Well, I don't. I actually want my child to have confidence at a very, very low level and confidence at a very high level, depending on what activity he's doing. Now, if my child was just overconfident about everything, that could get him into a lot of trouble. So remember, self-confidence is about the doing. So if you can help your child understand that, if you don't have very much experience, if you don't know much about this thing, low self-confidence is a great thing, because then you go, okay, I'm not very confident about this, I better learn more about it, I better practice more, better get a bit of help, this is great. But if your child's overconfident, which we do know with our children, you know, oh my goodness, a new bike, that's fabulous, let's go to the top of the hill, oh no, that wasn't a good idea. So if we can start to help them get the idea of when to be confident, how to evaluate when to be confident and when to be have lower confidence, that would be a good thing. So that's self-confidence. We want them to range from low right up to high. Self-esteem, on the other hand, is a completely different matter. I'd like, if you have children, I'd like you to have a go at this exercise with me. Do you remember the very first day you held your baby in your arm? Or if you don't have children, you held a baby in your arms. And you looked at that baby and it was the most awe-inspiring moment. You just look at, and they're just so beautiful and they're so awesome. So it is awe-inspiring. Now, what was that child doing? Probably nothing except a bit of maybe. And yet it was awesome, yes? It was amazing. The fact that we are alive, look, move your fingers, see, walk, talk, everybody's unique. We have a right, just because we exist, to have good self-esteem. That's what self-esteem is, the being part of us. So your child doesn't have to do anything to have good self-esteem, or be anything to have good self-esteem, or look a particular way to have good self-esteem, because we're just amazing. Now, self-esteem is a judgment about yourself. And if you can look at these hands, and you can look in the mirror and say, wow, there's blood pumping around my body, I don't even worry about that. I'm growing hair, wouldn't even know. I'm replacing cells all the time, haven't got a clue. How amazing. I can learn, jump, skip, love, kiss. There's so much I can do, which gives me the right to have good self-esteem. Now, if you can help your child understand that, just because who they are, they have the right to feel good about who they are, that's self-esteem. Then you can move to the doing part and help them with their confidence. And over time, what happens is you develop this thing called self-efficacy, which is a combination of the self-esteem and the self-confidence, which says, so for example, when I first became a mum, I haven't got a clue about parenting, but I did know a lot about study and I did know a lot about reading and writing, so my self-efficacy said, I don't know about it, I'm very low confidence with this, but I can do this. And that's what self-efficacy is. The belief in yourself, because you have self-esteem. You know your level of confidence, that you can then have self-efficacy to say, I can do anything that I need to do. And that's that inspired creativity, last category. Finding what your heart says it is that you can create in the world and then doing it. Now, a lot of parents don't support their children's self-esteem, and they think they are. And I'm going to be one of those people that can say I was certainly not doing it as well. I remember when I was a young girl, I was a really high achiever. I loved studying, so I've always done really well at school because I just loved learning. It came quite easy to me because I wanted to learn. So I would do really well, but I came from an era with a dad who came from a time when he didn't at all give praise or encourage. If I would do something, he'd be like, yeah, whatever, big deal, or, just put it down. And I remember one night I was at an awards night and I was 16 years old, and I was so happy because he'd actually turned up. He'd actually come, like he usually didn't come. So there he was in the audience, and I got 4 awards, and I was like so happy. Dad was there, and he'd always, I just really really was so happy he could be there. Anyway, we're in the car on the way home, and my mum, in her usual way, was, "Oh, honey, we're so proud of you. You're so awesome. You know, it's a really great achievement. We know you've worked so hard." And my dad, in his lovely thick accent, said, "A big deal. When I was a boy, I used to bring a wheelbarrow to the school to take home all my awards." Now, at the time, you can see, at the time you go, "Oh, now I can laugh." I mean, sure, he went with a wheelbarrow. You know, I don't think so. But at the time, it broke my heart. So I'm sitting in the back, you know, Mum's going, "Don't listen to him. Nick, what's the matter with you?" You know, and there was this whole conversation going on. And the reason why I bring up this story is because it really, for me, it really did hurt my self-esteem. I didn't understand that self-esteem wasn't about doing. I thought it was about doing. I thought if I could do something, he would like me, or he would be proud of me, or he would want me. And so when he was nearing the end of his life, I spent a lot of time with him, and he passed away a few years ago now, just before our son was born. And I said to him, I said, "Pops, seriously, what were you thinking with the wheelbarrow thing? And, you know, you're never going to do any, you know, this and that." And he said, I said, "Couldn't you just love me? Couldn't you just be proud of me? I just wanted to know you loved me." And he said to me, "I can't believe you're saying this to me." Not in that tone. He said, "I can't believe you're saying this to me." But basically the gist of it was, he said to me, "I've always loved you. I can't believe you didn't know that." And he said, "Look how good you turned out." And I'm sitting there, tears streaming down my face, because the first time I've heard my father say, "I did love you, and look how good you turned out," like, wow. And it occurred to me in that moment that everything that happens to you in your life supports you in some way. And I had to reflect then and say, well, yeah, look how good I did turn out, despite all that. And what's happened? What happened was, because my father was so lacking in giving, you know, encouragement and feedback, when I became a mum, I was like determined for that never to happen. And it's an important point that you need to consider, because our model of parenting, when we were parented, influences how we parent. And as much as I'll bet many of you have said, "I'm never going to be like my parents, I'm never going to do that, I'm never going to say that," and then you hear those words and you go, "Oh no, I'm my mother, I'm my father," yeah? Or you go the absolute opposite. You can do either way. You can either go that way or go the opposite, but it tends to be one of those extremes. So when Cameron was little, no matter what he did, you know, he just had to go like that, and I'd be like, "Oh, sweetie, it's so good. Look at you doing this. That's amazing." And that was because of what had happened to me as a child. And I remember one day when he was about 2, he picked up one of his drawings and he said to me, "Mummy, do you love this? Is this good?" And in that moment, my heart sank. I thought to myself, oh no, oh no, oh no, I've turned him into a praise junkie. He needs to now, everything that he does, he's waiting for me to go, "Yay!" I mean, who isn't? Who doesn't like someone to go, "Yay! What you're doing is amazing, you're fabulous." So that's when I went into the research, and that's when I started to find out about self-esteem and self-confidence and self-efficacy. So now when Cameron says to me, "Mummy, do you love this?" I go, "Sweetie, do you love this?" And he goes, "Yeah, I love this." I go, "That's great. Do you want to do more of this?" "Yeah, I want to do more of this." "Did you have a good time doing this?" "Yeah, I had a good time doing this." So he's continually appraising himself. So I've turned the question back. So it's his self-esteem, his judgment of himself, his judgment of his experience. It's not waiting for me to tell him if it's good or bad. I get to support him in esteeming himself. And now if he remembers to say, "Yeah, but hey, Mum, I did ask you a question. Do you like this or not?" Of course, I do answer that question. But he's already got the internal feedback. He already knows he enjoyed it, he did a good job, and he loves it. Now that sets them up for a really good platform to be able to internally reference first, and then later, which I do now because he's already older and he's got that platform, I say, would you like a bit of help with that? Or would you like another idea about that? So that he can integrate it with his own area, because let's face it, when he goes to school, he's going to need to be able to get feedback. But it's really good to start from that platform of self-judgment, get some external feedback, and then bring it back to self and see how it fits in. So that was one of the big things. Another thing about personal power that I have seen with my son recently is looking at that self-talk. Start to listen to what you say and what your children say. I came home one day and Cameron was doing something and he said, "Oh, silly me." And I thought, I didn't say that. I know you didn't get that one from me. So I just left it. I just left that and I thought, okay, where's that coming from? And I said to my mum, who minds him 2 to 3 days a week, I said, "Ma, do you ever say silly me?" She goes, "Ah, all the time." I thought, So I kept quiet because you don't want to ruffle too many feathers, you know how it is. Very, very, very grateful that my mum looks after my son. She's awesome. But I quietly sat down with Cameron and I said, "Sweetie, saying silly me isn't very kind to yourself. Tell me why you said that. Help me understand." And so he said, "Oh, well, I can't do this." I said, "That's okay. Let's see how we can, you don't have to say silly me. It just means you can't do it. So if you can't do it, you can learn how to do it. But you don't need to say silly me because it's not very kind." Anyway, a couple of days later, my mum says to me, "You're not going to believe what Cameron said to me." And I said, "What did he say?" She said, "Well, I was just doing something and I dropped it and I went, 'Silly me.' And he said, 'Bubba, don't say silly me. It's not being kind to yourself.'" So for me, I can see that every opportunity, everything that happens in their life affords an opportunity for learning. And to me, that's what life skills are all about. It's about taking those opportunities to support a child's learning and to be very explicit about it. Now, the second area I want to talk about is health and well-being, because I think it's so important. It is an area that a lot of people struggle with their children.